Auschwitz has happened. We're all serious now. Now, neither Adorno nor Winston Smith or Orwell would have believed, neither man would have believed that only a half-century or so after the Hitler-Stalin Pact, every major city in Europe would be able to claim a free press and a free university. Now, he's talking about the 1990s, maybe, early 2000s, because you couldn't even say maybe in the early 2000s that Russia is a free press, but Moscow maybe not be a major city in Europe. But there are not necessarily free presses in all those communist states that have crumbled. Some of them are just little autocratic states now. And I must add, I mean, there isn't actually a freedom of press in Britain, except just that nobody's found anything that they want to censor, or there's only certain things they want to censor. So there isn't freedom of press there, or in Germany, or in Spain, or in Italy, or Denmark, or France, or anywhere else. There is in America, but everybody else is still trying to catch on to that example. Now, possibly the understatement of the century. It may one day seem strange that in our own time of extraordinary, revolutionary innovation in the physical sciences, from the human genome to the Hubble telescope, so many radicals spend so much time casting casuistic doubt on the concept of verifiable truth. Right? So many people in the universities go around saying there's nothing and reality doesn't exist and you can't know anything, and yet we figured out the human genome and we've got this space telescope. Now, it may one day seem strange. No, Christopher. It seems strange already. Doesn't it seem strange that these people are saying we can never know anything and you can't even know if you exist? And we're like, you know, I'm sick of listening to you, buddy. I've got to go see what the latest deep field pictures are from the Hubble telescope. You go on and say that we don't know about reality, and I'll go count how many galaxies there are. How's that? Yeah, it seems strange already. Not just strange, but tragic and spooky. Now, from page 202, quite an interesting and good thought. Hitchens says, very often people embarking on such guesswork make, and then here's the part we need, quote, the vulgar assumption that the lower the motives, the more likely they are to be authentic. Now, I cut off the first of the sentence because it would have just gotten us off the subject. So there is a vulgar assumption that can be made by some people in some contexts, that the lower the motives, the more likely they are to be authentic. So, everybody casts the lowest motive when they find people doing bad things. They say, why would they do bad things if not for the worst, lowest motive? Because it seems more possible that it's an authentic motive. Well, why would they do something bad? Always one of two answers, and they are basically entwined. One is the root of all evil, and the other is what everyone should always avoid being, and that's money and selfishness, right? Those are always the cause of everything bad. Why? Don't we know that the road to hell is paved with good intentions? That's where these disasters come from. Communism wasn't brought about by a bunch of evil people trying to make money. It was brought about by people trying to do good, trying to create the future humanistic society. People who are after money don't cause disasters. And if they do, they should be put in prison by a government that's proper. Now this next sentence here, Euron Brooke, I believe, experienced a moment of this talking to a university group in California somewhere. Indiscriminate relativist promiscuity, where nothing can be taken as certain except the bad faith of those with whom one disagrees, or he disagrees. Okay, so what that means is that everything's relative and nobody knows anything, but you, sir, are wrong and evil and bad. That's my... If you were an indiscriminate relativist and you were promiscuous about it, you would say, no, you can't know that, we can't know anything, and your position's evil, we can't know anything, how do you know that, how do you know, your position's evil. So, how do you know his position's evil? Well, I think it was Euron Brooke who was talking to a group, and they kept shouting him down and stuff, and he said, you know, there is a reality and there's certainty and stuff. And he said, apparently, the only thing that's certain is that I'm wrong. And that's how these people think. They talk about toleration, we have to tolerate other people, we have to listen to, have dialogue and stuff, but they will not tolerate, listen to, or have dialogue with people that are rational. They hate them. They think that they are Satan embodied. Now, the Nobel Prize was awarded to somebody. Bother to go up through the paragraph. It always gets awarded to some scoundrel. The award of the Nobel Prize to such a shady literary enterprise is a minor scandal, reflecting the intellectual rot which had been spread by pseudo-intellectuals. Now, pseudo-intellectuals, you got that? The people who have spread this rot aren't real intellectuals. Think of Azrianoff and Zorio being the only intellectuals on the scene in America. You would have to say there aren't any intellectuals on the scene. Or Zorio's from Canada. You would have to say there are no intellectuals. You couldn't call them intellectuals. You'd have to call them pseudo-intellectuals. This kind of rot is being spread by these people. It was initiated by a master, Immanuel Kant, but it's spread and perpetrated by people who are much less than intellectuals. So to fight the people who are spreading and causing this stuff today, all you have to do is be an intellectual. All you have to do, because they're not doing that job. Their supposedly lofty preference for the arbitrary. Supposedly lofty. Good way of putting it, Christopher. For the arbitrary. Yeah, look at Picasso, E. E. Cummings, James Joyce, Kandinsky. Nonsense. Terrible, worthless, vicious nonsense. That's how theater was in Nazi Germany prior to the Nazis coming in Weimar Germany, prior to the Nazis coming to power. Theater was ridiculous and stupid and bizarre and absurd. And you know about the Dada movement and stuff. Why is that a lofty preference? Now, we skip the rest of the sentence because it's just blather. This is the end of chapter 9. Now, you know about Pascal's wager. Here's Orwell's wager. Was that the profane were well able to understand the language of the temple. Okay, so that the riffraff in the community needn't be excluded. We don't need a ruling priestly class, okay? We got that. And thus to penetrate the supposed secrets of authority. He did, of course, deploy a subjective and unquantifiable tool, something that cannot be taught or inherited. But the old name for this X factor is... Okay, so there's something he brought to the situation that he wasn't taught, he didn't inherit it, didn't come from his parents, and you can't quantify or measure it. And it made a big difference. It made Orwell what he is. And the old name for this X factor is intellectual honesty. So chapter 10, titled In Conclusion. Objectivity, though in practice as unattainable as infinity... Oh, Hitchens, is useful in the same way, at least, as a fixed point of theoretical reference. Just to let you know that he thinks that the people who say objectivity is impossible, he says that they look at it as a cult, but he doesn't have very much a better view on it, does he? The following sentence. A knowledge of one's own subjectivity is necessary in order even to contemplate the objective. No, I just don't agree, Hitchens. We shan't go into epistemology just now. Not for Hitchens. We skip a few pages down. Orwell sacrificed the enormous extra bounty of a Book of the Month Club selection at a time of extreme financial anxiety, rather than, right, he was offered a Book of the Month selection, he was very poor. Why did he not take it? Rather than make some minor suggested alterations to his novel. Almost like he had read The Fountainhead and wanted to be like Rourke. And the very last useful quote in the entire book. Sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. Just about to come to an end here.